Peace of Christ be with you. This is a midweek reflection for Third Reformed on July 29th, 2020, and my first one for a little while here. We've had guest reflections from Pastors Ralph Robrown and Dick Wellscott while I was able to get away for a couple of weeks with my family. We tucked ourselves into a little corner of the Porcupine Mountain Wilderness State Park in the far western reaches of the Upper Peninsula, and stayed in one of the yurt structures that the state park maintains right along the shore of Lake Superior. And that was a beautiful experience for us. I loved falling asleep each night and waking up each morning to the sound of the waves crashing onto the shore. We got to spend our days sitting alongside of it and swimming and playing in the lake. We got to see it in every imaginable color and angle of sunlight. We got to see it when it was glassy smooth, and you could make out all the details of the algae-filled rocks on the bottom and see fish swimming yards beneath the surface. And we saw it at times when it was tumultuous and churning, and you couldn't make out anything through the darkened waves. Over the course of our 9 days there, got to know that one little section of Lake Superior pretty well. But when I think about the vastness of Lake Superior, I can't really comprehend it. Superior is the largest freshwater lake in the world by surface area, with 31,700 square miles. It's the third largest in the world by volume, with an estimated 2,900 cubic miles of water in it. I cannot even begin to wrap my mind around numbers like that. It's just too big. And yet, that one little section of it that meets the shore right at the end of our own little private footpath, well, that I can begin to comprehend and know with some measure of intimacy after days and days of being around it. And I think that we work the same way with a lot of things in life. I wonder how much that kind of effect is taking place with our experience of the COVID pandemic, which continues to expand and grow around the world right now. You look at the best estimates available right now, and there's numbers like 16.7 million cases worldwide and 661,000 deaths. Those are numbers that it is really hard for me to comprehend. But when it comes close to home, and all of a sudden somebody that you know and love is diagnosed, or even loses their life to it, well, then the weight and pain of this pandemic starts to hit real close to home. And you can feel it in your own heart in a way that the massive numbers can't really bring home for you. And it makes me think of a pretty famous section in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 10, when Jesus says this to his disciples. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny, and yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father? And even the hairs of your head are counted, so do not be afraid, for you are of more value than many sparrows. That, too, is hard for me to wrap my mind around, that God knows and cares for all life within God's creation, even to the extent that not even a sparrow falls to the ground without God being aware of it. I mean, what a beautiful and powerful statement that the Lord of all creation knows intimately and cares about all life. Which means that in light of this current pandemic, God feels the kind of intimate connection we feel when somebody we know and love gets a diagnosis about every one of those massive and mind-blowing numbers. God is intimately present to the suffering and loss that is being experienced all around the world right now. As we continue to make our way through this pandemic, there's been a whole lot of chatter and dialogue and debate, some of it civil, some of it not so much, when it comes to the numbers that we're really dealing with. And I completely understand the need to keep exploring that. I cannot imagine that we would have fully accurate numbers in the midst of such an unprecedented crisis. As we're trying to build systems of responses, as we're trying to learn and understand how this virus functions and what the impact truly is, surely there will be revisions along the way. So I get questioning that number of 661,000 deaths. Surely some of those deaths must be caused by other primary factors, even if COVID is present in the person who has been lost. Surely the ratio of cases to fatalities isn't accurate right now because we're not doing universal testing. There may be many people who've contracted and recovered from the virus without even knowing. And those are important things to keep working on as we make informed decisions about reopening, re-engaging in-person versus virtual gatherings for school or work or worship. And as we try to make informed, responsible decisions for safety of ourselves and those we love in the community as a whole. But what I do not want us to lose sight of is, regardless of if those numbers are almost 7 million cases or higher, if those deaths are 661,000 or 500,000, the scale of what we're talking about right now is so large. I do not want us to lose that empathetic connection to the suffering and loss that is being experienced around the world right now. We are not God. We are not intimately connected to all of it. But I think being the people of God means viewing with empathy what's happening in the world right now. So my encouragement for us is to take that care and consideration that we feel when somebody we personally know and love has been diagnosed, and seek to expand that out to all those who are impacted. And as we have debates around the science and the numbers and the strategies moving forward, to do all of that within a compassionate context of empathy and love for what's being experienced around the world right now at a scale that we cannot fully comprehend or wrap our minds around, but that we know God does. So let us continue to be a reflection of that compassionate care for all life and suffering, wherever it may be felt right now.